Welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, man? Another great day. Check this out. If you would, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by serenity. Pray for that who still suffers, for those of us who are still bound in some sort of struggle that keeps us from moving forward in this toxic life that we live in. You know, that's how I always like to get my videos started with that serenity prayer. So if you would, please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right, check this out, man. Got a little message for you guys today. Hopefully, this message helps somebody. Hopefully, you get something good out of this message. I think this message is going to be a pretty cool one. It's just something that I've been doing of late. I've been doing a bunch of studying with the Patanjali Yoga and the Patanjali Yoga Sutras and the Threefold Lotus Sutra. You know, and just kind of been going at it with both of those. It's taken up a lot of my time, but it's really interesting to understand the roots of yoga meditation and where they derive from and how to practice them in not such a mainstream Western way. You know, you when I think about these sutras and meditation and yoga, I think more of how did they do it when from back in the ancient times. You know what I mean? How did they know that these things were how do they know that there was a connection between us as human beings and the mind, the self, and Mother Earth and the universe? Everything kind of culminated into one. You know what I'm saying? How did they know? And I think if you dig into the sutras, you understand the mindset and how they were thinking, and perhaps maybe, you know, who knows how they got the information back then. You know what I mean? Who knows if they had some sort of premonition, or if they had some sort of an appearance, or they experienced some, you know, cosmological type of thing. Who knows? You know, there's a bunch of metaphysical stuff that goes behind all these yoga sutras and spiritual and just, you know, scripture stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then anyway, what I want to do is I'm gonna introduce you guys to something here that is the foundation of the sutras. It's a foundation of yoga, foundation of meditation, foundation of how a bunch of these old ancient type things practiced their stuff and their spiritual connections and that sort of thing. But it's something that I've been digging really deep into, and something that I've been practicing myself in my own spiritual and yoga and meditation journey. And you know, I always knew there was something deeper than just doing an exercise, doing a just sitting in stillness type thing. I always knew there was something deeper, and the more you get into this, the more you study it, the more your mind starts opening up, and it just it gives you a different perspective on your life. You know what I mean? You look at your life in a whole different lens, man. I'm telling you, and for somebody who dealt with a lot of trauma, a lot of you know, depression, anxiety, PTSD, drug addiction, you know, childhood trauma, just, you know, a lot of things like that. You know, for somebody like that, this has been the core medicine, if you will, for me to live a different way. You know what I'm saying? And but anyway, let me put these things on here because I can't read without them, man. So check it out. And And how do you like to do, man? You know, I just got my hair cut, and you know, it's been a long time waiting. You know, there's my daughters. I got 3 daughters and an ex-wife, right? And they all have been through cosmetology school, and I couldn't get a haircut if, you know, man, I was just like, I wish I knew a hairstylist. But anyway, I'm just throwing that out there, just a little joke, man. But yeah, anyway, I got my hair, you know, cut, so I'm happy about that. And but anyway, here we go, man. And what I'm gonna throw at you today is in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the Yoga 1 and 2 has this these 3 terms, and it's chitta, vritti, nirodhah, and which is one of those phrases that that feels simple on the surface, but opens into a whole universe when you sit with it. You know what I mean? And these things, like I said, comes from the Yoga Sutra 1, 2, and it's the heart of the entire yogic path. You know what I mean? This is the foundation. If you want to meditate, if you want to know yoga in a spiritual sense, this is where you have to start. And okay, now I'm going to just give you a little bit of a clear, grounded explanation, I guess. And chitta is a Sanskrit term, and it's a Sanskrit term that means the mind, the field of thoughts, memories, emotions, impressions, and conditioning. That's chitta. And vritti is the movement, the fluctuation, the waves, the patterns that arise in that mind field. In other words, those are your thoughts that come and go, come and go, come and go. You know what I mean? And the nirodhah is the stilling, the quieting, regulating, dissolving, or bringing into mastery. Put together, it means something like yoga is the settling of the mind's fluctuation. Or you can say that it means, if they're all put together, it's like yoga is quieting the whirlpools of your consciousness. You know, you have this thing that's called your thoughts, right? And your thoughts come. They come. And it almost seems like you have no control. That as soon as you think one thing, another thing, and another thing, and another thing. And that's the vritti. That's the waves, because they can come. The waves can come in gigantic waves. In other words, you can have all these thoughts and emotions come at you, and sometimes you can just have this subtle wave of emotions that is just something that you're just so calm, and nothing's really, you know, you're thinking about one thing, and you know, you haven't thought about something else. You know, it's just the space between those two thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And it's not suppression, not force, more like learning to stop being pulled around by every wave that rises. You know what I mean? It's learning to deal with these emotions without tugging one way or tugging the other, and letting your emotions take the best of you. And like for someone like myself who was in addiction, you, instead of dealing with that wave, you just said, F this, I'm just going to get high. You know what I'm saying? Why deal with it? You know what I mean? It's easier for me to smoke this than to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? But lo and behold, you'll find out that once you're done with that little extracurricular activity, you're back to square one. The wave's even bigger. You know what I'm saying? And so you might ask that why this matters in practice. And for someone walking on a recovery path like myself, and for many others, which you weave so beautifully into your creative work, this sutra becomes incredibly alive. That is the thing, that this sutra it just intertwines in anything that you do in your life. You know what I'm saying? It's really cool to me that happens like that. You know what I'm saying? And also, it's the moment you notice a craving without becoming it. You know what I'm saying? That's that's how this stuff interacts when you start practicing it. You know what I mean? It's the moment that you notice a craving without becoming it, or it's the breath that interrupts an old pattern. It's the spaciousness where you choose response over reaction. It's the inner stillness that lets healing take root. You know what I'm saying? This is deep and beautiful stuff here, man. And, you know, in indigenous and the Buddhist language, it echoes the same truth, where freedom begins when we stop identifying with every passing storm inside us. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the things that you're going to find in healing of any sort. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be addiction. It could be PTSD, depression, suicidal thoughts, trauma, anything. You know what I mean? Even your daily grind in your life. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter what it is that you're going through. It's exactly that. Freedom begins when we stop identifying with every passing storm inside of us, because the storm doesn't identify us. That's not who we are. You know what I'm saying? That's just an illusion of your life, that anything and everything in this life is of impermanence. It doesn't last forever. You know what I'm saying? But for a lot of us, we dig into that storm and we just think, man, I can't let go of this. Or I just can't deal with this, so I'm going to stay down here in this storm. It's better. I feel more safe in this storm than out there. Out there in the unknown, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what's on the other side of that. And that's where a lot of us kind of trip up and stay stuck, you know what I mean? And also, I'll go on here let me see. You know, today, another thing that I wanted to do is just to sit. I want this phrase to, I wanted to just sit with you. You know what I'm saying? Just sit, let this phrase sit with you. And it's a phrase that could be echoing through spiritual traditions. And it has, you know what I mean? This phrase has echoed through spiritual traditions for over 2,000 years. It comes from the Yoga Sutras, and it's only 3 words long, but it describes the entire journey of healing. That's the beauty of this of yoga meditation, that it's a foundation for healing. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that ancient times knew that could heal. You know, it could heal you of whatever. You know, you didn't have to look for the medicine. It was always there. It was always there with you, within you. You know what I'm saying? The healing part, man. This is beautiful stuff. And, you know, the chitta, vritti, nirodhah yoga is the settling of the mind's fluctuations. You know what I'm saying? Because that's us. You know what I mean? And now, you know, I know that might sound a little, I don't know, poetic or whatever, but if you ever lived through addiction, trauma, grief, or even just the noise of everyday life, you know exactly what those fluctuations feel like. You know what I mean? Everybody has it, and everybody feels it a certain way. And if you have ever dealt with addiction, trauma, grief, or even just the daily stress of daily life, you know exactly what I'm talking about, how your feelings just go up and down in that. And sometimes you feel like you can't that there's nothing to do about it, but just be more pissed off or more sad or more angry or more, just in this, hopeless state, if you will. The racing thoughts, the cravings, the stories we tell ourselves, the old tapes that play without our permission, that's the mind, you know what I'm saying? And in recovery, we call it the committee in our head, you know what I'm saying? And in Buddhism, it's called, we call it, that's the monkey, it's the monkey mind. And in a lot of indigenous traditions, it's the wind that blows across the lake, disturbing the reflection. That wind comes and disturbs the lake, and you start seeing these waves. And the stronger that the wind comes, the larger the waves get. When the wind dies down, it just starts rippling, and sometimes you just see the water is just still. And that's a beautiful part right there that reminds me of when at one time when I was in the Persian Gulf, they called it the glass sea, and you couldn't even see a ripple in the water. It was so still. That to me is just a prime, just visual of chitta, vritti, nirodhah. You know what I'm saying? And also there's different languages, the same truth. You know what I mean? That's how it is. You know what I mean? And that's the mind. You know what I mean? And the mind is always moving. You know what I'm saying? The mind is not something that stays still. And it's said that we go through 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Can you imagine? That's a storm of mental stuff going on in your mind that you can't keep up with. You know what I'm saying? It's just one thought after another. Can you imagine that's how that you literally think that many thoughts per day? It's crazy to me. And another thing that that's the mind that's always moving, right? But this sutra isn't telling us to force the mind to stop. That's not what the sutra is doing. This thing, it's not about suppression. It's about relationship. It's about learning to stop being dragged around by every wave that rises inside of us. You know what I mean? Think of a snow globe. When you shake it, everything is swirling. Thoughts, emotions, memories, fears, and you don't touch it. You can't. And the flakes settle on their own. You know what I'm saying? And that's the nirodhah. Not control, not domination, just allowing the mind to return to its natural clarity. And here's the part that hits home for a lot of people, including myself in recovery. When the mind settles, even for a moment, we get to see what's underneath all that noise. You know what I'm saying? And we get to see that part of us that isn't broken. You know what I'm saying? In that stillness, there's a part of that stillness that you find you. That you before the addiction, that you before the anxiety, that you before the sickness, that you before the depression, that you before the grief. You know what I'm saying? And when that part that isn't addiction or any of those other things, that's the part that isn't defined by our past. That's the part that isn't defined by our past. That's the part that's always been whole. You know what I'm saying? That little bit of stillness, that is where that is the you. That is your, what we in the Buddhist tradition call the Buddha nature. You know what I mean? And that's the wholesome part of you. You know what I mean? And we all have it. We all have it amidst all that chaotic stuff that's happening in your life. we all have that little spark of wholeness in us, that innocent part. You know what I'm saying? And that's why practices like meditation, breath work, prayer, playing guitar strumming, or even sitting quietly with your coffee like this matters. And also, they're not about becoming calm people. They're about remembering they're not about calming people. They're about remembering who we are when the waves stop pulling us under. You know what I'm saying? That's chitta, vritti, nirodhah. And it's really cool foundation of yoga and Buddha and yoga and meditation practice. You know what I'm saying? And so what I want to do is just I want to invite you. You know what I mean? Into a simple practice, nothing fancy, nothing mystical, just a moment of settling, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And just something that we can do here, just you know, just in these next few minutes. You know what I mean? Just something that you can take out of this message that I'm giving you. If you would, please join me in just this little bit of practice, real quick. And I'm going to I got my incense going, you know what I'm saying? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to ding this bell to get us started and just follow me, you know what I'm saying? Okay, what I want you to do is just take a breath. And as you're taking that breath, just feel the inhale rise. Just feel the inhale rise inside of you. And also feel the exhale fall. And notice, just notice the space between the thoughts. That tiny pause. Just that quiet, just for that one moment, you know what I mean? That's the doorway the sutra is pointing to. Is that little bit of stillness. It's that stillness that is between one breath, one exhale, one thought to the next. And just sitting there and thinking, maybe not even thinking, just scanning your body perhaps. Just listening to your breath perhaps. Perhaps just concentrating, listening to your heartbeat or to the surrounding noises. That, my friends, is chitta, vritti, nirodhah. The settling of the mind's movements, the return to yourself. No matter what you're going through, no matter how hard your life has been, no matter where it's going right now, if you just practice a little bit of yoga meditation, just a little bit at a time, a few minutes at a time, that's all it takes. Just sit there and think of you. Think of that innocence that you left behind. That time when you could you were a kid perhaps, just, you know, that time when you could just had no worries in the world, you know what I'm saying? That time when you just first felt love or you first felt the presence of this child that you brought into the world perhaps, or you know what I'm saying? That, my friends, is the yoga meditation at work in someone's mind, in someone's heart, in someone's soul. And when you do something like this on the daily, man, on the daily basis, you'll start realizing that your heart, man, starts opening up to new things. Your mind capacity is infinite. You know what I mean? And, you know, if you take anything away from this video here today, is remember, you are life. And you'll keep living even after life. And even after life here on this world of samsara, this world of suffering that we live in, that part of you still lives on. You know what I mean? How beautiful is that? I think it's just a beautiful thing. But anyway, I hope that you guys got something out of it today, man. Hopefully that today, this message helps somebody deal with a little bit of that, you know, whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's addiction, whether it's trauma, whether it's depression, whether it's grief, whatever it is, whatever, even if it's just having a hard day at work, man, you know what I'm saying? Just a little bit, a few minutes of your day, that's all it takes, just to do a little yoga meditation, man. And maybe even, you know, indulge in studying a little bit of the sutras, you know what I'm saying? You'll find that these things are very, very informative. They have a bunch of, you know, food for your soul, medicine for your soul, for your brain, for your heart, for your faith, man. And it works in any sect of religion, any sect of spirituality, man. It works. But anyway, I guess that's going to be it for today's video, man. I really appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you would please, at this time, if you please hit that subscribe button, man. I really appreciate that. And share the channel, man. The more people that we can get to hear things like this, I think the world would be a better place, man. We live in a tough time right now. A lot of things happening out there in the world, man. And if everyone could just sit in silence for a minute, imagine how calm the world would be just for that little bit of time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, man. And, you know, like I said, hit that subscribe button, man. Just know that when you do hit the subscribe button, you're going to be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, suicidal thoughts, all those types of things, my friends. But guess what? I've dealt with all of those things one point in time in my life, man. Guess what? I know a way out, man. And my way out could be your way out. So on the next time, man, when the smoke clears, I am the recovery plug.